Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show, Vicki Lowell. Vicki is a financial advocate and coach, international best-selling author, and the founder of Empowered Worth, a financial education platform that empowers women to become active participants in their own financial future and well-being. She is also the author of the international bestseller, Empower Your Worth, A Woman's Guide to Increase Self-Worth and Net Worth. Her expertise is in this field has led to her hosting a college planning seminar at the University of Miami this year, with several speaking opportunities planned both locally and nationally. Welcome to the show, Vicki. How are you?
I am so excited to be here and to talk about women, finances, and real estate investing, because that's part of it. We have to, diversify, and that's a great way to do it. So I'm super excited to be here.
Yay. Yes, as soon as you applied to be on the show, I was like, yes, this is a woman I got to talk to. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Sure. So Vicki, could you give us kind of a high level version of your story? Kind of tell us how you got to where you are.
Sure. I'm going to do like Sophia used to say, just the facts. Or just the direct net. So here it is. Picture it. I was the quintessential stay-at-home mom, living in Greenwich, Connecticut, husband in finance, 2 kids, nice car, great house, the whole thing. 2008 came, market crashed. And I found myself turning to my husband, my college sweetheart, we're still married, saying, hey, what's the mortgage? He's like, our mortgage payment? I go, yeah, I have no idea what the mortgage payment is. I have no idea what the car payment is. I have no idea what it would cost to run this household if you were to lose your job or drop dead tomorrow. And I got to college, but my college degree had kind of been like hung up on the wall and I had forgotten about it. So it kind of was my aha moment. And I said, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get back in the workforce. I really don't like being a stay-at-home mom that much. I was doing what was expected of me as a Cuban princess. And I changed the narrative. And that's what I did. I went back to school for a little while. Then my husband came to me with an opportunity to work for him. He's a financial advisor. Started off as the marketing girl because that was kind of my background. Ended up loving it, loving the women I was working with, became a financial advisor. In 2019, I decided to start Empowered Worth. I decided I was tired of women being me. That was the Empowered Worth woman. They weren't connecting with their finances, and I needed to be part of the solution. And I couldn't do that as a financial advisor. I didn't want to have my desire to help tied to needing to get those assets under management and having people feel icky about that. It felt like a conflict of interest to me. So I started this company. I started an educational platform. It's on-demand courses and coaching that women can get so that they can feel empowered and they can empower their worth. And that's why I wrote my book. It was like 2018 was like an epiphany. I sent my first child off to college and I gave birth to Empowered Worth.
That's amazing. I love that. So it's so interesting that you came from a financial planning background, right? So we're talking, all the standard financial planning products, right? And then you kind of moved out of that. And today we're talking about real estate as a part of diversification. So talk to me about your relationship with real estate.
I have a mother who, quite frankly, helped kind of establish my family's net worth by doing real estate investing. She didn't realize that's what she was doing, but she would drive around. She'd get the pickup line. She'd be 30 minutes early. She'd drive around the neighborhood and look at houses and she'd buy them. She'd fix them and she'd rent them. And she made herself a really nice portfolio of real estate. And that's something that I saw growing up. As I became a financial advisor and a financial planner, and I did all that educational parts, I realized diversification is key. But when we talk about real estate diversification, a lot of times people think, well, I'll just invest in a REIT or I'll do something like that that's on the market. And those are great ways of doing it. But for women, we are tactile. We like to see what we're investing in. And that's why real estate investing is crucial. I love to do it. I know what's selling in my area. I know what works. I know what I can get out of it. Why not have that be part of your investment strategy? It really does make sense. And land, it's right there. You own it. No one can
Mhm.
take that away from you. So that's something that's I think really, really resonates with the female investor.
Got it. So, what exactly, how do you invest? What's your actual strategy?
My actual strategy, first diversification, I like to buy and hold things for a long time. When it comes to real estate, what I'm doing, and in fact, I'm taping from one of my investment properties right now. I've purchased something a little bit further up from where I am in Miami. Great price, market's shooting up here. And I know it's going to rent really, really well. I'm very intrigued right now with the Airbnb VRBO market. And what I'm seeing from there, I've had the opportunity to speak to some people on the board of VRBO, and they're seeing just huge growth. I think that this is a great little niche to get into. And that's what I did. I said, let me get into that. I've never done that. I shy away usually from property management. Saw my mom have horror stories. But this is a time that I think it makes sense. I think people are going to look at traveling in a very different way post COVID.
Got it. So interesting, right? Because a lot of people that are doing VRBO and Airbnb, it's been a rough year. People are like, wow, all that income is just gone. And so that's interesting that you're looking at that now. Again, it's probably like an entry level opportunity again,
Right.
right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, completely. And look, I have been able to kind of take advantage of some of the people who were in it, who couldn't really ride the wave
Hmm.
of the travel stoppage in the United States. But in certain areas, I've seen people talking about it in ski communities. I've seen people talking about it in Orlando, where you have Disney World. Not everybody wants to stay at a hotel, especially if hotels aren't giving you those extra little amenities. Then you can stay in a home, you know who's been in there. It's usually sanitized really well, and you feel safer and you get a little bit more for your dollar.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm really seeing it. And I do think it's a great way to start. Buying an area for me personally that I know is going to go up. But being able to VRBO it or Airbnb it allows me to defray that cost and be able to hold it so I can be there as it grows.
Hmm. Interesting. So, how would it look to scale that? Like, because I think about, so I've done Airbnb too, right?
Hmm.
Um, and for me, I had my one room in my house, whatever. I was in more of a corporate environment. So we were walking distance to Google, walking distance to Box, driving distance to Facebook. So we were right there. So people would come for more corporate stuff, right? But I've never had to scale that. So could you talk to me a little bit about what that might look like? I know that you're just starting, but do you have a plan or?
Honestly, I think it depends on location, 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 like with any real estate. In
Mhm.
fact, I happen to have a friend who she went from being a teacher to being a full-time Airbnb VRBO person. She now runs a property management company. She will literally grab other people's and manage it while they put it on Airbnb. So
Mhm.
it's very scalable. I think it all depends on where you're doing it and if the demand is there for those houses, then yeah, it makes sense to maybe get two or three houses to start off with, especially right now. Interest rates are at an all-time low. Maybe get an arm that will allow you to have a really low interest rate, and you're just doing that. The biggest issue I have with scaling it is who's going to manage the
That's
property for
right.
you. Who's
Right.
and that's where before you do anything, and that's what I did, I actually researched property management companies because I was not going to manage this. I don't have enough time. I've got a husband and children and a business. I don't have enough time to be in the. So I found a great property management company. And that's really key. And making sure talk to people who are doing it, talk to other Airbnbers or VRBOs or whatever, one five stay, whatever it may be, talk to them and see who they're using and get that referral. That word of mouth referral is crucial.
Got it. And what are this is so curious. I know we're on a complete tangent from what we expected we were going to talk about, but this is fascinating to me right now. So the other thing is these management companies, what do they normally charge to manage a VRBO or an Airbnb?
Well, I've seen everything right now from 8 to 10% of what you're charging daily. It all depends really on the level of what services you're going to provide for your our Airbnb guests, let's say, or
Mhm.
VRBO guests. If you're doing a very full sale, like, they're going to have a basket and they're going to have pretzels and stuff, and you're going to be doing that, or you're going to be filling the refrigerator for them. All of that will add on. Obviously, that's going to cost you if
Mhm.
you're providing that type of service. But you should probably get that back, I would think, with what you're charging. So that really all depends. I've also learned everything from what a good property management company, because they're the ones that are gonna list it on the Airbnb for you. They want to see in your rental. They're going to want to see, are the stainless steel appliances? What does that kitchen look like? What does the furniture look like? Are you a standard? Are you a premier? Are you a platinum? All that type of stuff goes into it, but it's a lot of fun. And
Mhm.
that's the thing. I don't have fun picking stocks the way I've had doing this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, cool. Thank you so much for going on that tangent with me. That was fun. I loved that. So, your whole thing is about empowering women financially, right? So, talk to me a little bit about how that works and what that means to you.
What it means to me, honestly, is changing that horrible narrative that women have had for years, that we have to get married and have our husbands manage our finances, or that we just can't really grasp high level finances. Women are great at the day to day. Women are great at budgeting. Statistically, and every bank on Wall Street has a report on this. You guys can just Google it, Merrill, UBS, anyone you want to look at. Google women, they've done a report. Look at those statistics. They're the same. And it's shocking. 80% of those women, they're great at budgeting. They can tell you what the kids spend on orthodontia. They can tell you what's being spent on groceries. They can tell you all that stuff. But ask them a high level personal finance question. Ask them, what is your retirement plan? Where are your IRAs? What is your 401k? What are they invested in? They can't answer that. That's the narrative that I really want to work to change. Because when you ask women, why aren't you engaging? I don't feel confident. And that's where Empowered Work was born from, to give women that confidence. I want you to know that we are there for you. We are your coaches. We are the women who have your back in the financial world. And then you can feel comfortable coming to the financial table and talking to a financial advisor, or getting your feet wet in whatever type of financial investing, be it real estate, be it markets, be it equities, bonds, whatever it is. I just want to give women that confidence, because that's where it all starts from. And that self worth and that confidence leads to an increase in your net worth. It all ties in.
Yes, I got it. Yay. So, you are of the opinion that women gravitate more to real estate than to the markets. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, time and time again, when I was a financial advisor, I would call in and I'd say, so why aren't you coming to the meetings? Why aren't you doing this? And she'd be like, well, I am involved. I've been doing some stuff. Well, what are you doing? I've been buying houses and flipping them. A lot of women were into the whole flipping market thing that we saw in 2008. I think they may have shied away a little bit, but they're usually the ones, because they know what other women are looking for. Consumer spending decision. The women decide what house to buy. Very rarely does a couple come in and the man says it's this house. She's going to say that. So as a woman, when you are the one prepping that house, staging that house, doing the remodeling of the house, you are literally your market.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy. You also know the neighborhoods, because those are your neighborhoods. Or maybe it was your past neighborhood. Maybe you're buying something where you grew up. Maybe you're buying something where your parents now live. You understand that in a much more tactile way than the obscure investor who's just buying something. That's where I really think that power is, and why they gravitate to it, because they're selling to themselves.
Mm. That's such an interesting perspective.
Mm.
I've been saying on this show all the time that we are sort of naturally, by default, better predisposed to be
Mm-hmm.
successful in real estate. I've also heard the statistic that the multi-million, multi-trillion dollar real estate industry, still in investors, there's really only about 40% of the investors that are women. So what that tells me, if we're more likely to gravitate to real estate, and we're still only 40% of the market, that we're like a tiny little percent of what the people that invest in the markets. Would you say that's true?
I would think so. I would think so. And it goes back to confidence also. And I think a lot of times when you see that, you're just, well, what's holding them back? And it might really just be access to funds.
Something as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's whether or not you feel comfortable pitching to your husband. Let's say you are the stay-at-home mom, like I was. I
Mhm.
don't know if I would have felt comfortable back in 2008 telling my husband, "Can I have $60,000 for a down payment? I saw a great property and I'm going to flip it." I don't think I would have known that. A lot of women may not even know a lot about lending structures and how to get those sources of income, so they're a little bit hesitant. But I think that once you get past that and you buy your first home, it's a learning curve, but once you get there, you will do it and do it again. It's like a drug. The women I know who are doing this are literally addicted, and they're buying by owner, which I think is incredible. A lot of them are buying by owner, or they're getting their realty licenses because they want to take that middleman out and keep that commission. I mean, it's
Mhm.
really amazing, and you can do that. That's the great thing about real estate. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can have a job, and real estate can be your side hustle. It'll become your main hustle, but you can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So talk to me about retirement planning for women.
Retirement planning for women is actually something that we need to have. It's an uncomfortable conversation and we need to have it. Women are incredibly underfunded for retirement for a multitude of reasons. First and foremost being the pay gap that we suffer in this country. Women are making less. We step out of the workforce. That's the very well known mommy penalty.
Mhm.
So we don't necessarily accrue the funds that we need to have by the time that we reach retirement. So it's really, really scary because unless you have a partner who's thinking, well, what happens when my counterpart retires? Do I have enough money saved in my 401k or IRA to cover both of us? You may be incredibly underfunded. In addition to that, Social Security is not going to get you there. We need to, I think everybody understands that now, but we really need to embrace that it's not going to be enough, even to maybe add on to that 401k and IRA. So we need to have that conversation. And last, the gray divorce rates for those over the age of 50 are double what they are for everyone else. So, what happens when you get divorced at 50 is that you lose 50% of those retirement assets, right? Walk out the door because it's a divorce, you're going to get 50%. And now you don't have the years of working to replenish that type of retirement savings. So, I'm
Mhm.
always telling women, you're probably going to come in and out of the workforce. That's the nature of the game. We have children. We caretake for spouses. We caretake for children. We caretake for our parents. So you may not have that work trajectory in the workforce. Increase and maximize your retirement savings when you are working. Give the max. If your company matches, give as much as you can. It is better to spend the money from your paycheck on retirement accounts than to go out and buy that purse that you're not going to have in 10 years because you can't eat the purse when you're in your 50s. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here. Yeah.
Yeah. Not taste very good.
Not tasting it. Maybe you could, and someone's going to send me a recipe after this for
Who
like a Chanel,
knows, right?
a braised Chanel. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So talk to me about filling that gap, right? On the mommy, sort of the mommy penalty. What do you do specifically, or what do you recommend specifically? I know you just talked about make sure you're maxing out the matching of the 401k. I like to talk about make sure you're maxing out your ESPP, which is the employee stock purchase plan.
Mhm.
Those are some of the things that we do, but what are
Yeah.
the kinds of things that you talk about?
Well, those are great, and those are definitely ones that people need to think about. But I would also say, if you are in a situation where you are the stay-at-home mom, sit down with your spouse, and if it's feasible for you with your budget, talk about a spousal IRA. Why are we not saving for me as an individual? Obviously, if your husband's doing a 401k, your partner's doing a 401k, I get that there's benefits, there's matching, there's all this corporate stuff, but you can still get a spousal IRA.
Mhm.
Definitely have that conversation. It's something you should think about. Also, side hustle. I'm all about the side hustle. Even though you're not working, doesn't mean you can't be working. Think about it. There's a thousand things, and now with COVID, I think a lot of women have turned to their side hustles to add money. I know a lot of friends who are making jewelry and doing really well, surprisingly so. Is it the same as their day to day work that they had before? No, but it's putting food on the table. So
Mhm.
think about that. Think about that side hustle and stash that money away for your retirement. Do not take a vacation with it. Do not spend that money on a gift for your husband. That money is there to provide for you. And in that side hustle, I include real estate investing. Save a little bit. Women are great. Like my mom, got her first amount of money that she used to buy her property. By all the money she'd skimp off the groceries. She's probably going to kill me that I just said this.
But it's true, right?
It's true. I had a dear friend once who told me my husband never looked at the grocery bill. I'm knocking out $50 a week off the grocery bill, and she bought a great property with it. So that's a great way of doing it. And think about ways that you can kind of skimp and get some stuff there and put it in a retirement account.
Yeah. For me, so this is actually kind of how things went for me. So my husband's a software programmer. He's got his normal job. We kind of made a decision that he would pay for today and I would pay for tomorrow. So I was planning for the future and he was kind of paying for our lifestyle. And so we still had the 401ks and stuff like that, but everybody knows that the 401k, those programs are still not going to retire you. And we were very aware, we embraced very early on that Social Security was probably not even going to be around by the time we retired, right? So I wanted to do the whole real estate thing. And I grew up in that. I trusted it, but my husband, not so much, right? So the way that we did that whole conversation was we owned a piece of property, right? He knew that you should buy a piece of property. We worked those numbers. Why pay rent? Why make somebody else rich? We did that. And then as it appreciated, I negotiated with him that any money that we get in real estate, I want to keep it in real estate and have it continue to work in real estate. So as equity grew, I took out an equity line and he's very conservative. So he was like, oh, I don't want to. And I was like, real estate money needs to make money in real estate. So we took out up to 80%. I took that equity and I invested it in more real estate. And that's kind of how we built our portfolio. What's so interesting about that is it required so little from me.
Yeah.
We just had to live in our house, which we were doing. We had to let it appreciate. And I had to pay attention enough to know when I could pull money out and buy something else. It was a slow process. It was my side hustle, but I will say that's what's going to retire us in the end. And it happened in 15 years for us. Now we live in an appreciation market in California. Everybody doesn't have that same experience. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more aggressive. But for us, it really was the side hustle that required no hustle. There was like nothing. I just kind of did this sort of natural thing. And the whole argument about real estate money staying in real estate really won him over and has provided sort of the retirement venue for us. You know what I mean?
I love that. I love that. And that's so true. But and I go back to this. Women need education into what the lending options are. You knew, let me get the equity line. Let me do that. You can write that off your taxes. There's so much stuff that you can do. There is sources of money out there. You just need to figure out how to structure that debt. I always tell people hear debt and they like start sweating bullets. I'm like, no. There's bad debt. That's your credit card on that Chanel bag you can't eat. And
or
then
your car.
Yeah. And then there's good debt, and that's real estate debt. I'm not worried about real estate debt because you own the land, you've got this. If it makes sense, if you're doing it right, structure it correctly, you're going to see a growth in your net worth.
Well, the other thing about real estate debt versus consumer debt, which is the credit card debt, cars and stuff like that, real estate debt is leveraged. So if you really think about it, you put 20% down and you get 100% access to any money that property makes.
Right.
So if you put 20% down and the house goes up and it appreciates by $20,000, say you have a $100,000 home, right? You put 20,000 down,
right?
The house appreciates by $20,000. You made 100% on your money. And who took most of the risk? It was the bank.
Yes.
The bank took most of the risk, right?
Yes.
So you've got very little risk for huge potential. And the bank is just asking for a very little interest rate. Even when it was at 17%, relatively speaking, that was a small interest rate in comparison to consumer debt, right? It's still cheaper money and you get to write it off. And there's a bunch of benefits that the government gives you. So honestly, like people are like, I don't want to be in debt. If you were to pay cash for a house, so you don't want to be in debt, you're just using cash.
Right.
Right? You are not utilizing leverage. If you make 20,000 on that house, you've made 20%, not 100%. Right? You're not using all of the benefits of what real estate can do for you. And I think this is what you're talking about with the higher level conversation is
Yes.
most of us understand debt, no debt,
Mm-hmm.
cash and loan, right?
Right.
But what we don't understand is that there are ways to leverage so that debt is good debt. Now, I will
Exactly.
be the very first to say we do not pay for anything on credit cards. It is simply a budgeting tool for us. We pay it every single month. I
Mm-hmm.
never pay for a car with a loan. I don't lease cars, whatever. Then there's this whole argument of the opportunity cost of where I could invest it, blah, blah, blah. But I don't do consumer debt. I just don't do it. That's one of our rules. But I am completely leveraged on all of my real estate, right?
And
Because it's cheap money and it makes me a ton of money. Buying a car does not make me money.
yes, yes. And
Right.
I love that you just said this because I say this all the time. And when I was a financial advisor, people would come in and be like, well, I'm going to pay the house off. And I get that. And there's a lot of books that say you pay the house off. Now, here's my thing. We're going to take the money, right, that's growing in this account that we have that you're invested in, and we're going to pay off this debt that costs you this much. Why? You're losing all that growth by getting rid of this debt that does not cost you what your returns are costing you. You need to understand the numbers behind it and sit down. That's what I live to do, to explain it to people, because I think that they get scared and they hear all this noise and it becomes like the peanut show, wah wah wah, and then they tune it out. No, there's a lot of ways to invest, especially in real estate, like you're saying, and have it be a money maker for you.
Right. And Ashley, I'd love to have that conversation about cheap money on this show. We haven't actually done this. My husband and I have talk about it all the time, and he keeps saying you need to have this conversation on your show. So let's actually talk about this. So what do we mean by cheap money? Why don't you explain it, and I'll just jump in because I know you know how to do this. So
Okay, what we're saying by cheap money is I look at the opportunity cost, right? What is borrowing that money going to cost me versus, for example, the example I was giving? Let's say that you have a great stock portfolio, right? And that stock portfolio is growing at, let's say, 10%, right? I'm just going to use really easy numbers here. But now you have the opportunity, like you said, to put 20% down and get a mortgage on a property of X at currently 2%, right? It makes sense. It makes sense for you to do that because the cost of borrowing that money is less, right? Than you paying the house off full and pulling out the full amount of the house, right? You're taking that growth of money that you would have had. And
So
that's
you,
what people need to understand. You're losing the growth opportunity by putting it and paying it off.
so what you're
Money.
basically doing is you're paying 8% to
Mhm.
pay off 2%.
Right. 2%. Right.
What you want to do is it the other way around. You want to pay 2%,
Exactly.
get the 8%. So this is the thing
Exactly.
that I want you to know, right? So if you're earning 8%, let's just really get clear on this. If you're earning 8%, now let's say you pay taxes on that, right? It's not long-term, it's short-term.
No.
So you're paying taxes on this, okay? So now let's take it to you're earning 6%, okay? Or 5%. But your mortgage is at 2 or 3%. Do you want to take the 5% that you're earning and
Right.
pay that money so that you can pay off 2%? That's like saying, I'm going to take $100 that my dad gave me to pay off $20.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And that's what people, yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
why would I do that? Or I take my dad gives me $100 and I'm going to pay something off, and it's going to be it's going to be a lateral. Like once I spend that $100 on that, $50 is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that.
You, if you truly understood it, you would never do that.
Right.
And the same is true for people who say, well, I'm going to borrow the money, or I'm going to take the money. This is what kills me. I'm going to take the money out of my 401k. Why? You're going to pay a penalty. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to do all this to pay for this whole. No. You have enough for the down payment. Do that. Get the mortgage. Leave the retirement account alone and just pay the mortgage off. And there's some great mortgage options out there. I haven't looked at them today on Monday when new numbers come out, but I would say, and this is something that I've heard a lot of people talking about, the 15-year ARM. It's and a lot of people aren't holding their homes for 15 years. You probably won't, especially look at your age. If you're in your 20s, you're not going to be living in the house for 15 years. Most
Right.
people don't live in the house. So why would you get a 30-year more, get an interest only 15-year ARM and let your money work for you
Right.
in other ways? So that's definitely, I wish more people would have that conversation. And I wish the mortgage lenders would explain it better. I wish that we could explain it. I wish that there was more financial planning and it was taught like how money works for you.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's, that's one of the questions that I get most frequently, especially here in California. People are investing. Oh my God, I just got,
Mhm.
a $1.5 million rental property. I've got $1 million loan. How am I ever going to pay that off? Well, you're never going to pay that off. It's
No.
cheap money. That's not something you should be paying off. What you want
Mm.
to figure out is how are you going to cash flow that, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so paying off when you're talking about mortgages, unless when you're doing sort of end of life planning, so you want to
Mhm.
have like no mortgage, you want to be able to live at your least expensive, right? Then it totally makes sense. But
Totally
until
makes
you
sense.
get to then, it's not, it shouldn't even really be part of the conversation because it's a write-off. It's something
Mm.
that's helping you to grow appreciation. It's getting you cash flow, and it's really, really cheap money.
Exactly. And I do agree with that. Once you're hitting that retirement age, once you're at 65, 66, 67, then that's the time to talk about paying off your primary home.
Only your primary. Exactly.
Your primary home. We don't have to do the secondary. And, make sure you have everything in the LLC and titled the way it should be for asset protection and all that. But if you're doing all that, then definitely don't pay off those mortgages
Right.
on those rental properties. There's no reason to.
Exactly. Thank you for having that conversation with me. I
My
can't have that
pleasure.
on my own. It needs to be a little bit of back and forth.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I hope everybody understood and listen to what Monica's saying here. You're going to be ecstatic once you do because you're going to make money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Very, very cool. Awesome. So we are going to get into our 3 rapid fire questions. But before we do that, I just want to let you know, ladies, we are going to be talking in extra about how COVID has affected women financially and what the sort of the repercussions and consequences of that are going to be for several years after that. So we're going to have the conversation about that. It's, again, another tough conversation that a lot of us kind of aren't looking at. And I love that Vicky's willing to have the tough conversations to help us to grow, to really empower us to build what we need to build. So we're going to have that conversation in extra. Before we move on towards the end of the show, Vicky, could you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is to visit my website, www.empoweredworth.com. Everything is there for you guys. We have a great blog that comes out once a month. Join our free membership. The free membership gives you great basic personal financial education on demand, so you can do it at your leisure, and some great other little things that we add in there monthly for you guys.
Nice. And so you've got a free membership, and you said that you were going to offer my ladies a 15-minute session with you.
Yes. Thank you so much for reminding me. I actually have on there a 15 free, I call it the 15 free intro coaching session. If you have any questions, you get to pick my brain for 15 minutes. And you'd be surprised how much we can get done in that time. But I would love to hear from you ladies. If you have any questions, if you want me to explain cheap money to you, I'll do that. I'll run you through it. I'll put it on the whiteboard. We can do the math.
Perfect. And that is at empoweredworth.com. And of course, that link will be in the show notes. Okay. So are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Yes, I am. Let's go.
Perfect. Okay, Vicky. So tell us one super tip on getting started investing in real estate.
Know your area. Location, location, location. I personally believe in invest in the areas that you know, either because you grew up there or because you live there.
Perfect. And then what is one strategy for being successful in real estate investing?
Um, I say this to everybody. I say this when it comes to finances. Don't be emotional, be financial. Don't be emotional. Don't take it personally. Especially, I know people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into these houses and making them perfect. If someone walks in or a realtor walks in and goes, "Oh, you made a mistake," don't listen to them. Trust your gut. Don't be emotional. Be financial.
I love that. And then, Vicky, what would you say is one daily practice that you do that contributes to your personal success?
Wow. I really have to say that I love yoga. I've taken up yoga in 2020. It was something that got me through a lot and it's helped me. But the best thing about yoga is that the silence and the meditation and to just being able to center myself, because there's a lot of noise in our lives and we need to connect with ourselves in a very spiritual, meaningful way. So that's actually, it's not financial, guys. It's yoga.
Yeah. No, actually, a lot of people say that. They say yoga, meditation. I mean, that's actually fairly common. So, yes. And it's good to realize that, ladies, right? It's that we in order to be successful in real estate or in our businesses or as moms or as anything, we need to take care of ourselves. So we need some downtime where we're just kind of all about us, right?
Yes.
So that's really important. Awesome. Well, this has been amazing, Vicki. Thank you so much for what you've offered in this portion of the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to connect with your audience and to talk about how important, because real estate investing, it's where a lot of us get our start when we start investing before we even jump into the stock market. So it's an important part of every portfolio.
Yay. Thank you for that. And ladies, we got more, right? We're going to be talking about sort of the financial consequences to women from COVID and what are those long-term repercussions going to be. So we're going to be talking about that in Extra. So if you are subscribed to Extra, stay tuned. And if you're not, but would like to be, go to Real Estate Investing for Women Extra.com. That's Real Estate Investing for Women Extra.com. You get 7 days for free. So check it out and stick with it if you love it. You know, the other thing is you can connect with me and find out everything that I'm doing at blissfulinvestor.com. So there's a free report there. There's the podcast. There's all sorts of stuff. So go check out blissfulinvestor.com. That's my website. And ladies, if you love this show, help out all the ladies in your life and tell them about it. I love, this is the most meaningful thing that I do. And the reason I do it, I'll be really honest, is because of the emails and reviews that I get. I'm talking out into the ether. I don't know who's listening. But when I get responses back about, Moneeka, you started my investing life and I'm so excited. Or Moneeka, you changed my life because I finally bought a property after thinking about it for 3 years, right? When I get these letters back, it really, really fills me up. And so, we're making a change in the way women see the world. And if you want to support the other women that you love, tell them all about the show and have them listen in. And hopefully you'll be a letter to me soon too. So anyway, so go to blissfulinvestor.com and tell all of your lady friends about the podcast. So, if you are leaving now, I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to say? Yes. If you're leaving now, thank you so much for joining us today. You know how much I appreciate you. And always remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.